Well, it's been a while. Thank you, everybody, for coming back to the reboot of the GeekySteveD Show. I'm GeekySteveD, otherwise known as Stephen Diggs Jr. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am an author. I'm a podcaster. I do pretty much a lot of stuff on the internet. I've even been doing TikToks and YouTube shorts, so you probably have seen some of those. So it's time for me to bring back my podcast. So today's going to be an introduction. Plus, there's some cool topics coming out right now. So I got a couple of things I want to talk about. So first of all, this will be a weekly podcast. I'm going to try to put it out around Tuesday or Wednesday. Just kind of depends on how long it's going to take me to edit this. This is all kind of new to me. I got a new setup here. I got my trusty microphone. I got some lights right through here. And so it's going to be a work in progress a bit. It's going to definitely get better. If anyone has any kind of suggestion, just please let me know. Let me know in the comments. Send me a tweet at GeekySteveD. I'm active on Twitter in particular. So please feel free to reach out. So, and with that, I'm considering this a reboot. This is not going to be a continuation of the previous one. So just make that clear. This will be episode 1 of the reboot, or I don't know, new season. I don't even want to call it that. I don't even like the word reboot. That's something we need to get into at some point. I do not like reboots. At least as many as we are getting now. We're getting way too many of those. And it's becoming kind of an issue with the amount of movies, and not just movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, anime. There's a lot of anime that's coming back out. The new Trigun, for instance. I think that there's too many reboots, guys. Can we have some original ideas? I'm a fiction writer. I didn't mention that earlier. I'm a fiction writer. I write movies. I even helped edit the screenplay for this movie. Wow, this is awful. Right there. This one right here. Check it out. It's called Conflicted. It's my brother's film, actually. It's won a couple of awards. Check it out. I think it's on his YouTube channel. So please, can we get original ideas? Just like this right here. See if I can actually, there we go, look at that. Let's get some new ideas. It'd be great to have something fresh, something new, and have an occasional reboot. I don't think that having reboots in general is terrible. It's just that when all we have is reboots, that's terrible. And it doesn't allow for new ideas and new people to showcase themselves. And I think that that's going to be an issue, and it's going to get worse. I feel like we're feeding in itself over and over and over and over. So it eventually, I feel like we're going to have 5 different types of stories, or five different, main stories. We have like Marvel and Star Wars and probably Star Trek, and then 2 or 3 other things. And then everything revolves around inside of those, because we're kind of eating all of the other projects, even other major big things. We're just eating through them. But I don't want to focus on that today, because today is not about that. Today is about my introduction to the podcast and the few random topics that I have today. So I just want to reintroduce myself. The goal is to try to make these about an hour long. I don't think this one's going to be quite as long as an hour, but that's okay. That's something that I will be working on, and I'll be getting topics every week. I want everyone out there to give me topics, to give me ideas. I'm going to also clip up the important parts of this and make separate videos for those based from the podcast, kind of make separate videos out of them. And they won't just be me talking. I'll kind of edit some stuff. I've been learning some editing, actually, and actually it's kind of fun. So I'm going to do that as well. So there'll actually be some unique stuff to it. And then also I'm going to do some actual like special videos, some just kind of topics by themselves as separate videos. A lot of it might be on location. A lot of it might be me even in my house in different places, trying to do something different, trying to just come up with something that's unique, fun, entertaining. I know that what I do now will probably not be what I do in 6 months, when I'll even be do what I do in a month. And I want you guys out there to help me with that. Please, if you have any ideas, just let me know, please. And with that, let's actually start the first episode. And today I want to talk about, does everyone know that WrestleMania is actually this weekend? Because it doesn't really feel like it. WrestleMania really feels like it's still a long ways away from now, but it's not. It's not at all. And in fact, does anyone care? Honestly, does anyone really care? Like, WrestleMania doesn't seem to have the hype that it used to, that it did 3 or 4 years ago. It's 2 nights. It's 2 nights. There's some big matches. There's some big matches. Cody Rhodes in his first major match since returning. I mean, I know he's had a few matches since returning from his injury, but this is his first real major match in his return, and for sure, it's definitely hit the first major match of his WWE career. I mean, the biggest match of his WWE career, both his current WWE career and his past WWE career. So he's fighting Roman Reigns, which I'm going to go out on record and say this, that'll probably be night 2, Cody versus Roman for both titles. I think Cody's going to win. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think that Cody's going to win, though. I think that he's going to win both titles. I don't think they're going to do any kind of splitting the belts right now, but maybe he will. Maybe he will. Maybe what I'm thinking is, if they were going to split the belts, they'd probably do it at Raw after WrestleMania or down the road, because I know they've been talking about trying to split the belts, and I know that that's something they want to do. So Raw and SmackDown both have a belt, just like the women's, which I think is going to be night 1 main event, which is going to be Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. I think that that's what we're going to see with those. So if anyone has any ideas on who's going to win that, I think it's going to be Rhea. It has to be. Rhea's on top of the world in women's wrestling right now. I mean, I don't think that there's no other way to say that. I think that she is the biggest star, if not top 5 stars in WWE, maybe top 5 stars in wrestling as we say it right now. Just because she's carried herself, she's worked on her character, she's worked on her attitude, she's worked on her in-ring skill, she's worked on every part of it. She's very clippable for the internet. She's very engaging, and Dominic Mysterio has a lot to play with that, I think, as well. Which, good on Dominic. I mean, that's huge too. So to me, I think that that's what's probably needed for a women's champion right now. And Charlotte Flair has a role to play. No pun intended, I guess, but she might be better deserved to have the other title in the long run and let Rhea run that title, which I honestly cannot remember. Wrestling's been getting kind of a blur, as you can tell. It doesn't even feel like WrestleMania season to me. I'm actually probably looking more forward to Josh Barnett's Bloodsport that weekend, because I love Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. The Bloodsport match events, I think this is pretty far into it now. I think it's like 7 or 8. They just have no ropes. It's 2 guys grappling, doing some wrestling, doing some jiu-jitsu, and they're worked shoot matches, as they call them, worked shoots, and they are phenomenal. The guys go in looking to either kick their head off or pop their head off in a submission or leg, and it's just fun. They usually have great matchups. You get to see a lot of Japanese talent. You get to see a lot of American talent, the guys that are kind of the bruisers, the big guys, the badasses. That's awesome. That's actually, I'm looking more forward to that, and I think that is Friday night, I believe. If not, it's Saturday morning. I'm looking more forward to that, actually, I think, in the long run, just because, man, Bloodsport's awesome. And also, it's called Bloodsport. I mean, it's the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's him, it's Chong Li. If only they could get those 2 guys to appear. Chong Li lives in Los Angeles, I believe now. Bolo Young is his name. He lives in Los Angeles, I believe now, as like a Tai Chi instructor. So they should have him appear. That would be phenomenal. That would be really cool. And GCW does a lot of surprises and has a lot of guests and guys who either aren't normally in the wrestling business or haven't been in the wrestling business in a long time. That would be a cool get for them and would really kind of get some buzz for the company, I think. I think that would be huge. And please do that. GCW out there right now. I will make this a short video on its own just to get maybe some extra publicity in the next 4 or 5 days that maybe they can somehow get him. That would be phenomenal. Please do that, whatever you can. But anyways, back to WrestleMania. I think that WrestleMania is going to be cool. It's Los Angeles. They've been doing some of those like fake movie trailers or movie clips like they did the last time they were in LA. Maybe it was the last time they were in LA. The one was it 22 with the Pulp Fiction they did with Booker T and Eddie Guerrero. That one's a great one. There's a million of them. And I'm hoping it's good. The Rock, I guess, isn't going to appear. He would have had a match with Roman, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I think it's time for Roman to lose the belt. I think Cody should win. Cody deserves it. And I don't mean that in the deserve, like you deserve it thing. I actually think he kind of deserves it. I think he's one of the biggest stars. He's worked his butt off in wrestling to get back to where he is now, to work on his character, work on his physique, minus the neck tattoo, but work on just being a more well-rounded wrestler than when he was in WB before. And I didn't think he was that bad. He just had some weird characters and some weird gimmicks and weird stuff like Stardust. But I think that he knows how to carry himself as a world champion. And I think this is time. Roman probably maybe has ran his course. I think that, especially because he has 2 belts. He's only got he's got both world championships, which if you like it or not, he's the only world champion. And it probably would serve WWE to have another champion right now. Just as a general, time to probably change things. Probably time to split up the bloodline. I mean, Sami Zayn was kicked out, obviously. We all know that, which that's going to be a great match, I think. Zayn and Owens versus the Usos. But I think it's now probably time to split the bloodline up. And they've been hinting at it. Cody's been hinting at it with Roman and the rest of the guys. So I think maybe it might be a time to let the Usos maybe turn on Roman after Mania. Maybe he, they all of them lose their belts. And Roman then starts complaining to the Usos, and the Usos are even saying like, well, you didn't come help us at our match. So why did we need to help you? Maybe they don't come down to help him on Sunday night. And that's fantasy booking, and everybody does the fantasy booking. But I would like that. And it's getting maybe a little long in the tooth. I don't even know where you would go from here if you were going to continue doing it. So I think it's probably time to maybe split them up. Kind of let them still have the edge of their characters, and let them kind of see what they can do on their own now. The Usos are a credible tag team. Roman is obviously the heel in the company, without a doubt. And there's probably still some legs left in him. And, maybe turn him face, maybe have the Usos go against him. Maybe the Usos just get fed up and they get spun off as the face of the split. Because maybe Solo is going to have to tie into this as well. And I could see Solo probably staying with Roman a little bit longer, just because Solo's the fresh guy, the young guy. He hasn't wrestled a lot compared to the other two. Probably still needs some seasoning, and he could probably get some more Paul Heyman guidance. Maybe even Paul Heyman could split off from Roman and go with Solo. And that would be the way to make Roman a face, and have Solo be a heel with Heyman, which he could learn from Heyman, which he's probably already learning from Heyman. But then he would be his advocate, And I think that maybe that would be huge. But outside of that, I'm not really looking forward to WrestleMania. I think that The WrestleMania season's always kind of fun, especially now that a lot of the other wrestling leagues are always go to the same place. They're always there. They're running shows. They're running crazy shows. It's 3-4 days of just back-to-back wrestling shows, back-to-back, back-to-back, back-to-back. And that's cool. That's very cool. And you get to see pretty much every wrestling guy you'd want, minus AEW, obviously, which they don't want to do WrestleMania shows because they don't want to look like they're bowing down to WB. So I get it. But you get to see so many guys. If you're there's conventions. There's obviously lots of shows. There's a lot of stuff to do. And it's a celebration of wrestling, which is the only thing that I wish AEW was able to be a part of it, and I understand why they're not. It's just that it's a weekend of a celebration of wrestling. It's no different than the Super Bowl being the celebration of football, not necessarily just the celebration of the two teams in the Super Bowl, but it's also a celebration of football. And we just saw at the World Baseball Classic that was a celebration of baseball. And you had players from all over the world, different leagues, different places, people you've never seen before. Wrestling is like that this weekend. But like I said, if AEW was there, that would be cool. I get it. I understand why they don't. However, Tony said he doesn't want to lie down when WWE runs shows against him. Maybe it would be time for him to run a show against them. Maybe you run it on WrestleMania weekend. Maybe you run it on one of the nights of WrestleMania just to do it. It may not be the biggest. It would be crazy if you did it in the same city. Imagine running a AEW TV special. Let's call it that, like a TV special. They've done a few, like a Clash of the Champions type special. You run it on night 1 or night 2. Let's do it Saturday. You're going to do Saturday, and there's on TV, so you get on TBS or TNT or wherever, you would actually have AEW or WrestleMania night 1. That would be a direct shot. That would be the start of a new war. Maybe that's what's needed. I don't know. I'm not even looking that forward to AEW right now. AEW's just been kind of boring too. And maybe it's just oversaturation of wrestling. Maybe it's also Wrestling Bios' amazing Reliving the War. That's been my wrestling fix every single week, is the Reliving the War. It's been phenomenal. It's every week. Wrestling Bios goes back through. He's on YouTube, by the way. He goes back and he chronologically is reviewing every Raw and Nitro and the pay-per-views that go into them as well. So every Thursday, it's an episode that reviews that 1 week's worth of Raw and Nitro back to back. So he'll do, the first hour Nitro was ran unopposed. So that first hour, it's just Nitro, and then it goes back and forth between Raw and Nitro, Raw and Nitro. So you can see what was the main events against each other. How did Raw open up against that second hour of Nitro? And he does a phenomenal job. He has memes in it. It's entertaining. He shows you all the great stuff. He makes you want to go back and watch it yourself. It almost makes you want to watch. So as I'm recording this, it is Monday. It would be so great to watch Raw and Nitro Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime before Thursday, then watch his review on Thursday, and then just kind of repeat it. It's something that the WB Network needs, or Peacock, I guess, technically needs. That would be awesome. And that's a great way to get people back into learning more about the historical side of WB, not just biographies, or documentaries, or just random matches they'd put up or something. But this would be it's also fun. It's engaging. He's doing very well. He's got tons and tons of patrons on Patreon, and he needs to keep doing it. And I know he will. He's doing so well with it that's something that I think that would be great for WB to do. And in fact, I'd like to get him on this show. I would love to schedule an interview with him and have him here on this show, because that's the one thing I do want to do in this show I did not mention earlier, is I want to do more interviews. I want to take this into the comic, the wrestling, the video game world, the movie and TV world for sure, and actually have interviews on here and discussions. No one really is doing that, and I think that would be phenomenal. I think that would be a great way to do it, would be to have guys like Wrestling and Bias. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. I don't think. I haven't seen much of anything. I'd love to be able to get him on there. I mean, I know he's in Ireland, I believe, and we'll figure that out. If I want to get this big enough where you guys out there, if you want someone on this show, I want to get them on this show. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So, WrestleMania is this weekend. Also tomorrow, which should be the day you actually hear this podcast, the new MLB The Show comes out. It's on Game Pass, which is always an interesting thing to me, just because it's a Sony-made game that's on. Actually, I think it might be on. Is it on this? Might be on the Switch this year too, but it's on the Xbox platforms. But you have to pay for it if you're on PlayStation. You have to pay the $60, $70. But if you're on the Xbox, you get it on Game Pass. So it's free. And I don't know how much money Sony makes off of it. It's just one of those things where it's just, you can kind of see the world of video games just slowly coming together. You got more cross-platform games. You got games. There's not as many exclusives as there used to be. So now you got even a Sony one going to Xbox. And maybe at some point, we kind of guess we are starting to now. We're going to get Bethesda games, which are owned by Microsoft, going to Sony platforms, and maybe Activision in the future too with Call of Duty and such. We'll find out what goes on there. But I'm just curious what the new show is going to be like. Even though I'll be honest, I think there's been some people talking about it already, because if you can have early access if you pre-ordered it, but I think it's been kind of stale. Soft Drink TV on YouTube has talked about this. Not just MLB The Show, but almost all the games, all the sports games. They're all kind of cut and paste. They make all their money off Ultimate Team, or MLB does it on Diamond Dynasty. And I just fired up MLB 22, the show, which is last year's game, a few days ago. And it had the same music that's been on it since at least MLB 13, I would say. I think MLB 13 I played a lot of back on the PS3, and it had the same exact intro music, which is just stupid. Like really, really, really stupid. Like that's uncalled for. Like there should be new music. The menu is still kind of running the same thing. Like the animation's kind of still the same. Like the game mechanics, like that thing, it kind of feels kind of stale. It feels stale. But they don't care. That's the thing. There's no other baseball game. There's no other MLB game. There's no other football game. So Madden's NFL game. So Madden's going to make money. There's no other NHL. So you got to pay for EA NHL, even though I think gameplay-wise is probably the best of all of them. FIFA's pretty good for gameplay, but even those series, all of them, still very stagnant. The last F1 game, a lot of people didn't like it. EA took it over because they own Codemasters now, and look what happened. They didn't work on adding a lot of core gameplay. They added modes where you drove supercars, which, that's fine, but not in an F1 game. You don't care about that as much. You want the F1 experience, especially right now with Drive to Survive being such a big thing. You could almost incorporate your own version of Drive to Survive in the game, but not necessarily. It doesn't even have to be the career mode. It could be like something else almost, but it's something that sports games, are not what they used to be. They are good. Don't get me wrong. MLB The Show, the way the animations move and the way that characters do things, and just it feels like a baseball game. Madden, not so much. EA, nah. There's a lot of spammy type stuff to that game, because I've played a lot of the NHL games, a lot with my friend Joe. And there's spam moves that you can use and stuff like that. So I call out to all of the sports game makers. Please make better games. That's all I ask for. Make better games. I want better games in general. I don't think we're getting as many good games in general because we're so focusing on Ultimate Team if it's sports, online, battle royale, or just kind of like large online modes in any other game. Ultimate Team's not online mode anyways, but you're talking Call of Duty or Fortnite, or I have a friend that still plays Destiny 2. He's been playing that. I don't know. He's probably got 2,000 hours into it, which is just insane. But the games are still the same. There's nothing really driving them. I mean, there's story-driven games, but I miss more story-driven games. I miss the diversity. I miss arcade racing games. Where's my arcade racing games at? There's hardly any anymore. The PS2 era, which is probably still my favorite era of all time in video games, you couldn't throw a quarter on a rack of PS2 games and not hit an arcade racing game, a sports game, an arcade sports game, all the street titles, the NFL Street, the NBA Street. Man, those were phenomenal games. There was a million other ones too. You couldn't, and then you'd hit, the huge amount of Japanese RPGs. You would hit the huge amount of the quirky games, weird games like Mr. Mosquito. You don't get those games even as much on indie titles anymore. I know it's expensive to make a game, but experimentation is missing in video games right now. And I'm really, really, really miss it. And everything's kind of being the samey. That's the only way I can explain it. Almost all the sports games feel samey. They're a different game, of course. Soccer is not the same as hockey, or an F1 title is not the same as NASCAR, which has been awful, but they still have very similar feel, look. They all have ultimate teams. They all have just, let's update the rosters. Let's not really change the core gameplay. Let's not innovate. Let's not try anything too far out of the realm. Whereas in the PS2 era, man, there was experimentation everywhere. Every year there were 2 at least NFL games. There was probably 4 or 5 at one point because Microsoft had one. Quarterback Club was Acclaim, I believe. There was NFL Blitz. There was Madden. There was NFL 2K, which shout out, 2K was still amazing. And I think there was 1 or 2 other ones in different years. And then that's not including the college football game too. So at least you had just a large library of just one. That's one thing. That's one thing. That's just football. That's not including where all of the beat 'em ups. There has been a little bit of a renaissance with the amazing Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. That was a phenomenal game. But I would like more of those. Shmups are great, but you don't see those anymore. It'd just be great to have 5 to 10 every generation of every genre and subgenre as well, because we're really missing things like arcade racing games, arcade shooters. A lot of shooters are kind of very based in reality. Even if they're science fiction, they're based in reality in some way. Almost too worried about being competitive. Time Splitters is a perfect example of a first-person shooter that was arcade-like, very solid, amazing, fun, very adaptable, very open-ended, especially for a PS2 game in terms of what you can do. There's a million side missions. There's the main game story. There were arcade modes that you could build your own levels. Then you could customize the AI. You could have from 4 to 16 AI in your maps. And because this really kind of before online play. I think there was some online play, but it's not like it is now, obviously. But then there were, I think, like 40, 50 characters. So you could have 3 characters they were rated 1 to 5 for difficulty. So you could have a couple characters at 1, a couple characters at 2, and so on. You can't do that on a modern game. You're just kind of stuck in their sandbox. And it's getting boring. Video games bore me in a lot of ways. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, I can't think of any other thing to say. I don't like it, and I miss it, and I miss it dearly. And hopefully that will come back, especially something like the NBA Street games. NBA Street, that's what EA should be doing right now. EA is not making NBA Live titles, which 2K's got a lot of issues as well. NBA 2K has got a lot of issues. That's okay. Don't make another simulation NBA game. Make NBA Street. Please. I would do anything for another NBA Street. Imagine if you could also play it online. But give us a lot of stuff to do offline, and also don't lock all the costumes behind pay windows and DLC and season pass. You can still have those, but give us a lot of crap for free. Rocket League's kind of pretty good for that, I feel. I know a lot of people don't agree. I agree. I think Rocket League is good for that. Let's do that. Let's have a new NBA Street. That would print money. They don't have to make multiples every year because they could always do updates and they can add players. Man, just do that. If EA could just make NBA Street or someone else get the license to NBA. I don't think it's exclusive to 2K. Get the license, make it an arcade game. 3-on-3, maybe 2-on-2 instead of 5-on-5. Just make it remake NBA Street on modern systems with some online play. Obviously, you would have better graphics, all the updated teams and logos and stuff. That's it. Just give us Rucker Park. Everyone remembers Rucker Park. I mean, it's a real place, but everyone remembers Rucker Park on there. Put that in the game. Get the NBA license. Get the NBA legends. Let's settle Jordan versus LeBron. Let's do it. Let's go. And, I think with that, I think I gave you guys enough for this week. I think that's about it. I think that's about all I can think of for right now. And stay tuned. There's going to be a lot coming. This is just a prototype. Think of it that way. This is a prototype. This is just episode 1. I don't know where it's going to be in episode 5. I don't know where it's going to be in episode 10. I don't know where it's going to be in episode 50. But I want more interviews. That's something that I really, 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 really want. So please stay tuned. Please subscribe to keep an eye on me, and I will see you guys later.